Aleigh Lamies, and today I'm going to be presenting my original research project on the Indigenous Api people of the Philippines and their image in the media. So my research question for this project was, has the perception of the Api people progressed from the past? And in this project, I'm going to be looking at if their image has progressed positively or negatively from the past. So my original hypothesis for this project was that the perception of the Api people has not progressed significantly from the past. And in this, I'm hypothesizing that their image has stayed largely negative, which I will explain later. So first, I'm going to give you guys some background on who are the Api people. So the Api people were the first inhabitants of the Philippines, and they are indigenous to the Philippines. They currently reside in the island of Panay, Negros, and most notably the island of Boracay, which is a very hot tourist spot due to its white sand beaches and its beautiful scenery. The Api people are a Negrito ethnic group, and they're categorized by having physical features such as dark skin and curly hair. So before conducting my research, I reviewed some past literature. I would like to preface that this past literature is pretty dated, coming from 1960 and 1963. When reviewing my past literature, I found that when the Spaniards came to the Philippines, they often had a lot of tension and difficulties with the Api who were already living there. The Api often lived a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. They were pretty nomadic, so this was seen as less modern and less civilized compared to the Spaniards and other Filipinos living there at the time. The Api often lived in small bands and villages, and they placed a lot of significance on familiar relationships, such as respecting their elderly, loyalty to the tribe, and loyalty to their family. They were often categorized as inferior by the Spaniards and other Filipinos due to their difference in physical appearances and difference in lifestyle. Along with this, the Api also had traditions of spirituality, such as praising multiple gods and praising nature spirits. This in itself caused a lot of tension with the Spaniards, who when they came to the Philippines were practicing Christians and Catholics. The Api were seen as primitive and less civilized, again due to their nomadic and hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and they often lived in states of poverty, with a lot of their needs not being met. So from reviewing my past literature, I found that the image of the Api was largely described as negative, and this is where I got my hypothesis from. Moving on into my methodology, I'm going to talk about how I conducted my sample. So in 2023, I conducted a Google search for all of the news articles, including the terms Api, Aita, Indigenous peoples, and IPs, which are all terms used to refer to this group of people. From this, I collected a population of 37 articles, and by simple random sampling, 15 articles were selected to be used for my research. And moving into my methodology, I used the sociological method of content analysis to analyze these 15 news articles. Here I included some photos of my actual content analysis sheet. Sorry if it's hard to see, I just wanted to highlight the rigor of this methodology, and now I will go into some more focus sections. So when reviewing the different news articles, I looked at 8 different categories to analyze the meanings of the articles. These categories included any hardships of the Api, anything racial mentioned about them, their living styles, familial relationships, anything having to do with religion or spirituality, interactions with other Filipinos, politics, and then a miscellaneous category for anything that didn't fit into the other 7. So when analyzing my articles, I looked at the manifest, which were the obvious, and the latent, which were the underlying meanings of words, phrases, and sentences being used in the news articles. I then looked at if these had any negative or positive connotations to help me infer what type of image was being portrayed of the Api in the different news articles. Along with this, I also was checking for biases in the news articles. So I was looking at their sources and their reliability, the source relevancy to the article, and also if the articles gave any conclusion or opinion to the main point of the article, as these can all be factors in checking for biases and seeing if the news articles were biased. So here I've included a screenshot of me actually doing one of the categories for one of the articles. So I would go through each of the articles and see if any of the categories I mentioned before were being talked about. So in this one specifically, the article talked about the hardships of the Api. Then I would write down what words and phrases and sentences were used to talk about the hardships. And then I marked if any of them had any negative connotations and if they had any positive connotations. and what they might have been implying, which was looking for the latent or underlying meanings. And this really helped me see the deeper meaning of what the articles were talking about and how they were really portraying the Api, and if it was in a negative light or in a positive light. So from doing my content analysis of the 15 articles, I found that 74.5 of the articles talked about land in regards to the Api, 13.3 talked about hardships, 6.1 talked about remembrance of the Api, and 6.1 talked about the education of the Api. So the most major finding I found was the issue of land in regards to the Api. So as I alluded to earlier, the Api currently most live on the island of Boracay, which is a very hot tourist spot, booming with businesses and a lot of tourism. But because of this, the Api often face a lot of difficulties with private claimants and businesses trying to get ownership over the land that they currently live on. However, from a lot of the news articles, I found that the federal government in the Philippines has actually awarded the Api certificates of ancestral domains and certificates of land ownership awards, which grants them rights and ownership to certain areas of Boracay and having that land. The Api also get, from the news articles, I also found that the Api also get a lot of advocacy and support from the Catholic Church members in the community, which is very notable because, as I referred to earlier, they had a lot of tension with the Spaniards who were practicing Catholicism and Christianity. So seeing a lot of support from the Catholic Church members today is a very notable finding. So from this, I found that the Api have a lot more institutional support in regards to keeping their land and having ownership over their land. We can see that from the federal government giving them these certificates of land ownership awards and the Catholic Church supporting them. However, I did find that the Api have less individual support when it comes to keeping their land. I saw this from the legal battles with a lot of the private claimants and businesses, and more specifically, one news article talked about how one Api tribe leader got shot, and the suspect was said to have been a security guard from one of the big hotel businesses in Boracay, who they were currently in a legal battle with. So from this, I found that while the Api have institutional support, such as from the government and such as their Catholic Church community in the area, they may have less individual support in regards to keeping their land. My other findings consisted of the hardships, education, and remembrance of the Api. So a few of the articles talked about and shed light on how the Api still get discriminated because of their difference in appearance, such as their darker skin and their curly hair, and also their lower standards of living. Also, a few news articles talked about how schooling for the Api has less importance. One school was trying to get funds for building an Api school, but unfortunately they couldn't get it. And that news article was shedding light on how to support them and how to get that support for them to build that school. And lastly, advocacy for the Api and their culture was very prevalent in a lot of these news articles, which I thought was really important. Their culture was being remembered, and a lot of the news articles talked about reminding people how they were the first inhabitants of the Philippines and how we should respect and honor their culture. An additional finding that was not part of my content analysis, but I thought was very notable, was about the Atiatian festival in the Philippines and Dinagyang. So these two are religious festivals meant to actually commemorate and honor the Api people and when they got converted to Christianity when the Spaniards came. However, it's very interesting to find that the Api don't actually participate in these festivals. These are other Filipinos, and a lot of them come from schools, such as students and faculty members that plan these festivals, and they dress up as the Api in order to commemorate and honor their legacy. However, the Api themselves and actual tribe members don't participate in these festivals, even though it's meant to honor them. So I found that this could suggest that the Api's importance is still not really valued in everyday life because they're not participating in something that is meant to honor and embrace their culture. Moving on to the discussion and the progress of the Api people. So after doing all of my content analysis and my research, I actually found that my original hypothesis that their image has stayed negative in the media was actually false. Although a lot of the articles talked about their adversities and the difficulties that they go through, I thought that this actually could be a telltale sign that because they're being highlighted, it's actually shedding light on the Athi instead of ignoring them or not even reporting on their problems. So from this, I infer that their image has improved, and along with that, something especially notable was, as I mentioned earlier, the past literature was very dated, coming from 1960 and 1963. So there's a significant gap in the academic literature about the Athi people. And from my research, I found that understanding them, more information and research is definitely needed in understanding them. And I felt that my research is could be a great stepping stone to contributing to the academic knowledge and academic information about the Athi. So finding this out was very notable. And moving forward and further research, something that I would love to take up at the four-year university is maybe doing personal interviews with actual Athi people themselves, so I can see their individual experiences and how they live on a day-to-day basis. A lot of my research had to do with their overall media, especially in the overall image, especially in the media, and not really delve deeper into their individual experiences. So I feel like this would, doing things like personal interviews would really be a great telltale sign to their everyday lives and how they experience life in the Philippines every day. Along with this, I think that looking at ancestral domain laws and landowning laws would also be significant in the Philippines. Looking at the intricacies and details of these laws and seeing how maybe they could be modified to protect the Athi even more from the big businesses and private claimants that are trying to take ownership over their land. And lastly, I think at looking at the meanings of the Ati-Atian festival and Dingadyan would especially be significant, looking at why the Ati don't participate in these festivals meant for them and what the real meaning behind Ati-Atian and Dingadyan are about, just so we could see how the Ati are really being portrayed, especially in these big popular festivals in the Philippines. So here's my works cited page, and thank you all so much.